Welcome to Tablenauts. My name is Max.
I'm Doolin.
I'm Jash.
Why you looked at that camera?
I forgot which camera it was.
Welcome to Tablenauts. My name is Max.
I'm Doolin.
I'm Jash.
I'm Kenny.
This is Gempire, Zarman's Demands, a game that is going to be on Kickstarter September 26th, which is the day you are watching this video, hopefully. We are going to tell you about the game, our thoughts of the game, have some B-roll of our gameplay in the background so you can see what it's all about. And we just want to give you a little introduction to what this game is so you can decide whether it's something you want to back on Kickstarter or not. So, what is Gempire, Zarman's Demands? I think that's kind of a hard question to answer because it's a lot of different things. But it's basically a blind bidding game where you are trying to set, collect, and build up an engine even can happen in this game. And ultimately trying to complete 2 of 3 demands. It's also got that race element in it. So a lot of things, Zarman's Demands. A lot of things that are intertwined?
Yes.
Intermingled. In this game. But ultimately it comes out as a very satisfying game to play in my opinion, which we'll dive more into later. Each turn, you're going to be rolling these dice and deciding 1 of 3 actions to take. You're going to take resources, bid on buildings, or upgrade your city, and this is done blindly. So you know what others have as far as how much production they have and what they can bid on, but you don't know what they're going to do. There's a lot of strategy in trying to get cheap buildings, Kenny, or trying to, upgrade your population so you can hold more than 5 production. But very unique game that I think is at least worth checking out on Kickstarter or other videos about just to see if this is something you're into. So we do want to give a big asterisk, and then I promise I'll shut up and let other people talk, in that this game was provided to us by Gym Time Games, and Paul is a friend of the channel, a friend of the Discord. We are going to, say what we like and dislike about the game, so I'm not, take what we say with a grain of salt, but we are being honest about our opinions on this game. But yes, Paul is a great guy, great friend of the Discord, so definitely support him if you want, but we wanted to make sure that you understand that we may not be entirely unbiased because of that friendship with Paul. So let's get into Gempire. I want to know in general, how does this game make you feel? Like, I like to talk about a game that, what feelings does it give you? Does it excite you? Is it brain burnery? Stuff like that. So Doolin, if you will, what feelings does Gempire give you?
Okay, I'm going to speak to one of its strengths as I explain why this makes me feel this way. I love games that have races in them. And the fact that it's not about
like orcs.
Yeah, he's a big fan of fantasy.
No. Like a race to some type of number or race to a certain number of orders like out here. And the fact that it's not just whoever has the most population, whoever has the most gold, whoever has the most culture at the end, I love because I have no idea how close you 3 are, despite all of us going for wildly different things. I just know how close I am. And the farther the game goes, the more I know, the more this tense but also awesome, competitive, I need to get there as fast as I possibly can feeling I get from some of my other favorite games. And I'm not comparing these games at all, but one of my other favorite games is Dune Imperium, where you're racing on these tracks with other people to get a certain number of points to just win the game outright. And it's not about winning as many wars or having the most resources. And I love that feeling. So that tense and exciting, almost like you're running a race feeling is in this game for me.
Oh, I love the bidding bits. I think because there's always the tense of whether you're going to take resources or actually going to bid. And when you sweep all 3, it feels so good.
Yeah. And our last game, you've put up your table, but you had a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
There are
5.
Yeah. Which is great though. That leads into what Doolin was saying. We all took different approaches. Now, it's not as obvious as Dune Imperium where you're like, oh, you're at 9. I know you're about to end the game. Because there's some surprise victories here, but I think that's a strength. You can spend the time mathing out what Jash has going on, and I'll know that Jash is close, but there are some really big plays that you can make, one of which I just made in the play we just had, where I went from not having either to having both in a matter of 1 turn just because of something a big switch, an exciting moment.
If I were to offer a critique already, sorry, Paul, you can cover your ears if you want. But one thing that I think would add to that a bit is having regular, maybe once every 2 rounds victory checks out loud where we say how many of these we've gotten. And that way I know like, oh man, I need to be ramping up things instead of like, I could see a game where somebody's really quiet at the table and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I won.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, okay. There wasn't much of a ramp up at the end. But
I will say the rule book specifically states that like if someone asks you what you have, like he's like just tell them, like because they're allowed to count, so just tell them.
Right,
That's like
it's
in the
public
rule book.
information.
So if I said, Jash, how close are you? Jash is obligated by the rule book to be like, I've got this much this much this much that, and I'm like, okay, you're about to win, or I have a lot of time. So not that it's a written as rules check every so often, but it is something that can be done.
Check as you want.
Yeah, exactly. Josh, what do you think?
I'm gonna start asking you guys that as we play every single time. How close are you?
It is turn 1.
Yeah. I have 5 production and nothing else.
So it is very brain burnery, which I mean, I guess that's sort of the name of the game with like engine builder.
No, the name of the game is Gempire's Arms.
Oh, Zarman's Demands. I keep
not
forgetting
Gempire,
whose demands.
brain burning.
Yeah. But you know, there are some turns, especially because
now I understand why you only had 5 buildings.
I thought it was brain burner game. There are cards that are affected by certain conditions that like change as you go on. If it's like this amount of buildings, okay. But now I have another building to add to that, but I've also put a diamond on it, which counts it for twice. But also I have this thing over here that makes those buildings count as 2. So now it's like you're recalculating cards, or there's things that trigger other things. So there was a turn where Max was doing stuff for like 2 minutes. Yeah. And I was just admiring.
With Doolin's help.
Yeah, with
we were like, oh, but then this happens, which means this happens, which means this happens.
You read one thing and it was less powerful in your mind, and it was like, wait, no, Max.
Yeah.
Let's map this out.
It was way stronger than I realized.
1 yellow per gem you have, which is 4, 7.
Whoa, I've been counting that wrong. So I need
So
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more
population,
which actually gives me 50.
Which actually gives you 1 more.
Okay, hold on. No, that actually gives me 3 more, which is 53. And because I get a population gem, I can get another gem, which I'm going to take a purple this time, and we're going to start building up 3. So that actually gives me another population, which puts me at 54.
Yep.
Okay.
And then for yellow, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So
13
to purple.
Okay.
Or not 13, or to gold. Sorry.
Whoa, hold your horses. This is
which gives
wild.
you another one. Hold on. So go ahead and write 13 there.
Okay,
13 in gold.
Yeah.
Which gives and then you get another one. So it's 14 in gold and 55 in population.
14, 55. Oh, it's actually. Oh wait, that's just for green gems.
Yeah,
that's just for green gems.
And then
whenever
this
I got a
one,
card on
you
here,
counted as
I get
green. So this one, you get the purple.
I get 3 purple plus 1 purple per gold.
I'm across
building 2 left, which is none. So that's okay. So it's just 3.
Oh, sorry.
It's just 3.
You have 45. So many buildings.
It's just 45.
And then this one is purple.
5 buildings.
So I'll put you up to 18. And then this one. This one gets me another.
You have so many buildings. I have
5 buildings.
All I know is one of my conditions is met.
Oh my god.
What is happening right now?
Oh my god, that gives me another one of this and another one of this. Holy cow. That's crazy. That is wild.
That's what you know I'm technically winning right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
How do you know?
How many do you have?
Because I have one of these met.
So hold on. I need to check real quick. I genuinely do. I don't think I'm there yet, but I need to check. Have at least 7 cards the value of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, you're
Done.
good.
Have a sum of
I'm not technically
20,
winning.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Max
so
is
16.
technically winning right
Hold
now.
on, 16 total gems.
Max might have
1, 2,
it.
3,
I think
4,
you have
5,
it.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, you're there. You win. GG.
We would have kept going if I hadn't said that.
No, I was going to check. I just finished doing the math, and I was going to check.
Jesus Christ.
Dude,
Kenny,
counting the
how did you
effects
not
of...
win?
They're all like cheapies, you know what I mean? So
okay.
I got a lot of the good value, but
So it's something that I said out loud while we were playing. Like, I think this would be great in like some sort of assistance that did all those calculations for you. For people that are small brain like me, that have the buffers, the dial-up sound when those things are happening.
The good news is that you didn't have very many buildings to have to calculate.
It's true.
I do think that's a perfect pivot into our criticisms, though. I think that is a critique that everyone's going to have. Now, to what extent it bothers them, I think is really going to be the barometer of like how much it affects how you enjoy the game. Me personally, I'm not opposed to it. I know some people that are going to hate that math that you're doing every turn. Now, you're typically incrementally adding things, so it's not like impossibly hard to track. But I'll also say too, if you're someone who, and I'm not saying this is like, yes, you should cheat in this game, but if you are someone who demands to know every single thing that someone is doing on their turn and how they did that, I don't think this is the game for you. Like,
there's too much stuff going on.
I'm just trusting you all that you're doing it right. There's so much to calculate that I'm like, I believe that's where you're at. I'm not going to fact check you. If someone in your game group must fact check everything you do, this game is going to take forever.
Yeah.
Not that we're in criticisms mode right now, but we finished that game in 60 minutes.
Which was a lot shorter than what it was last time, I think.
Yeah, a 4-player game in 60 minutes. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I have more positives to share later when we get into our favorite moments, but I do think the calculations is ultimately going to be the biggest critique. And I have one more, but I'll save it and see if someone else brings it up ahead of me.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the only critique for me. I like that our turns sort of happen simultaneously. So we're not like, the only downtime is when we're collectively deciding what we're going to do and when we're collectively calculating the things that we just did.
It plays really fast because of that.
I mean, I think like what you brought up earlier, that like it's hard to know like where you are in the game just because there's just so much going on. It's kind of like I guess like a conglomeration of all our critiques, but there's just can't be a lot of calculations, and knowing where you are sitting in terms of the end game conditions is hard to suss out sometimes. So,
my only one really is I desperately wish, and I know that, I mean, it would just ramp up the price, but I don't like the science track.
Completely fair critique.
I think that it needs to either be an inlay like board where you're like constantly going up like that, or honestly, if you got this game, a very easy fix. So this is a very minor complaint in an otherwise amazing game. You could easily have like 2 dice to show, like the 100 and like the 2 10-sided dice, right? That you use in D&D. You could use that as you go up if you wanted to.
I think
just write it.
I was gonna say, I think
or
that
it could be a part of your board.
That's
easily.
what I was gonna say. I think that he probably made it public, so like you couldn't just cheat. Like, oh, I have 50 science.
Right,
here.
so we watch it go up.
Right, we're watching you move your cube up the track. But I do think even just having a thing to the side where you're like, oh, we're at this number. If you have like a small whiteboard, just put it to the side and count everybody's science that way. That is a critique for sure, and a valid one at that. I do think it's mostly minor, but yeah, like a dual layer board or a peg system or something like that would have been a much welcomed addition to the game. So I agree. My final complaint is really that, and it's not even really a complaint, but there are turns that are dead turns if you have a really, really bad roll. So like I used all my production last round. Jash rolled
no production.
1 science and nothing else, and I have no gold to increase that.
Yeah.
That is a worthless round for me.
Well, I have no production, so I'll be taking 2 production. You idiot. Roll well, please.
Oh boy, yeah. Nope.
But that's the risk I took spending all my production the previous round, and the game moves fast, so even if it's a dead turn, it's like, okay, next turn. Go next.
I think for me, what turns me around on that is like the fact that gold exists. Yes. So like I got no gold this time, which meant late game I was having some dead turns, but I knew that's on me. Like I haven't spent any effort getting gold at all, and so I couldn't complain when I couldn't get
resources.
But at the same time, you know, like early game we had like 3 or 4 rolls. At least this game we didn't have that in the last game. Where there wasn't a whole lot of production, and then all of us were like, "Oh, well, okay, we're just going up the science track, I guess."
And I do think that adds a lot of like strategy to bidding too, because it's like, oh, Jash has 2 production and 5 were just rolled. Like he's probably not going to spend his 2 on something. So it's really just me and Kenny fighting over things. And I'm looking at Kenny's board, and he doesn't really care about purple. So maybe I can bid less on purple and try and tie with him on green, winning by the science track. So like, it does add a lot in that not everyone is bidding at the same time because they're kind of like you're almost like cycling in and out. Like, oh, this turn Jash and Doolin are bidding, and this turn Kenny and Max are bidding, and it's not always happening that way.
Right, because some people are going to sneak some bids in.
Right, but it does like work kind of well that way, and it almost, to me, I think it's kind of a welcomed addition. But moving on, favorite things about Gempire's Armaments Demand. Kenny, what is your favorite thing about this game?
I mean, this is just a prototype copy, but I think like for a first time designer, first time like production, I think the production's really nice. Like the gems and the capsules and it's the
like, included dice tray, like
for like a kind of like a Tableau Euro-ish kind of game. Like this is a really nice production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like the variety that is going to change every single play. The win conditions are going to be different every single time, and then the science card on the side, so there's special power-ups that you can get as you go up the science track, is going to be different every single time. So what is on the side and what you're going for is going to change your strategy and your path to victory every single time you play.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So Doolin, you're going to go next so I can think of something else.
That's fine.
But yeah, I just want to agree that the variety in this game is nuts. Not only did we not use this entire stack of buildings, but we're choosing 3 out of a deck of, I don't know the exact number, 20 or something demands, or we're choosing 5 out of a deck of 25 or something science. So,
and then our palace upgrades are going to be different every time too.
Palace upgrades are different. Sometimes they can be blanks even. Yeah, I totally agree. We've talked many times on this channel about how much we enjoy like tactility in games. Like you can't come into a game and be like, I'm gonna do this.
Right?
It's a game where you have to like be on your feet and think on your feet, because like how much we talked about Castles of Burgundy being like, it's a game you can come in with a plan, but you're gonna have to maneuver around that based off what you've been given. And that's this as well. Like I can start the game and be like, ooh, that's a tough one to get, so I'm gonna go for this, which is what I did. But then I'm looking at this and I just think that every game is gonna be unique because of that. I'll still try and think of something myself.
I will say this about just about any game that does these things well, but some of my favorite things in board games are, one, when racing is in the game rather than just whoever has the most points. Love that so much. I mean, Root is my favorite game of all time. Dune is second. So like those are 2 racing games. You're racing to 30 points.
Has most points.
Yeah, no, but like,
but
you
it's
know
a race to that.
It's a
number.
race to that number. Then on top of that, love blind bidding in games.
2-2.
3-3.
God dang it! Oh no, Max. I hate you.
So good.
You got it.
You got all of them. My God, Kenny.
Like if you can throw that in as a mechanic, you're speaking my language. Absolutely. And then on top of that, I think a game is really, really good when it has some sort of engine building element, or at least in it, as you go, you feel like you've upgraded yourself, and like almost like how old video games make you feel as you go through them, and you get level ups and upgrades and like all of these things, and you start off as like, oh, lowly farmer, and then now you're the hero. Like in this game, as you go, you're able to hold more production. You're able to switch your resources a lot more. You're getting a whole lot more things.
Making the in-game results easier.
You're making your engine of buildings way nicer and all of these different things. And you just feel more powerful as the game goes on. And I love that in games. I love that feeling. And in all honesty, it's not to the same extent, but I've talked about and people are like, oh, it's such an overrated game. But like to me, it's great because of this. Earth is a great game because of how much you get to do while everybody else is doing their stuff, and how that changes as the game goes on. Like Earth's turns take forever at the end of the game because you're having 19 cards to go through on Kenny's turn.
Right.
And that's awesome. And in this game, it's the same way, where when the dice are rolled, we all have things to do. And as the game goes on, we're all like taking turns. Like your last turn was 2 minutes because you were having all of these things like combo, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, totally. There's so many things that I like.
Pick 3 things.
Yeah, sorry. I like it. I think this is a really nice. There's many things I could say, but to finish it off, I think it's a very nice like mishmash of I can focus on my own thing, kind of solitaire elements, and try and be the most efficient as I can, mixed with mild interaction. We're having that blind bidding. Not only are we having that, but we're having races for certain things, for getting these quicker, for being tied on the science track, for completing these on time. So like it's fun to puzzle out your own, and no one is like stealing buildings out from under you, but yet you're still enjoying each other's presence at the table because that'd be scary. That'd be scary. Don't
that would drop your numbers and
expansion idea. Not horrible.
Trebuchets destroy.
That I actually love that.
No.
And then you could build defenses.
But then you have to calculate what's being lost, and that's too much.
Defense is a whole other track, and if I'm higher than you on the defense track, you can't blow up any of my things.
Doing like math.
I think that's great.
I would love to play it on BGA.
I'm into seeing it like.
We need to make sure that we're talking to that, or that one guy's going to be like, "You guys talk to each other in a video."
Yeah, it's weird when
it's
you guys
so weird when you're talking
like each other or something.
We had a question about that on Board Game Box Office. It's like,
Wait, what?
Remember when we just last
There's
episode?
no video.
No, on Board Game Box Office, on the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Which question?
When people were like, the guy from Reddit was like, "What do I do when they're talking too much at the table?" And it was like, what do you mean? Get over yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
Plug for the podcast.
Plug for the podcast. Board Game Box Office. Check it out.
And our comment section.
Yeah, true.
Have fun.
Final score of this out of 10. Why not? What are you thinking, Josh?
2 thumbs up.
That's not out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
He does this every time.
I wasn't prepared.
Oh wait, I don't know why I looked at
Okay, Josh.
now that Josh might not be leaving, we don't know actually.
I mean, I will eventually.
Yeah, but like now that you might be sticking around, you got to start like rating
Contributing.
games and contributing.
My back's starting to hurt from all of your weight I'm having to carry.
All right, I'm gonna help you out.
Well, don't make me go first.
There's only 10 numbers. Subtract the ones you don't think it deserves.
Okay, let's do a 5-point scale. Maybe it's less pressure.
5-point scale.
It's the same.
It's the same. It's
Same
the
thing.
He's,
So
he's,
think
he's,
letterbox.
he's bad at math. He's
4 gems out of 5. I'll hammer 4 gems out of
If
5.
it's out of 5, I agree. I'll take 4.
4 to 5 is great.
The price is right. You have to be higher or lower. I'm just kidding.
4.1.
4 to 5 is great. 2.5 to 3.5 is good. Anything lower than that's bad. So just keep that in mind as you rate.
4 gems out of 5.
4 gems. Great minus.
4 Paul gem times out of 5.
I'd probably agree. Yeah.
4? 4?
Fair
4.5.
score.
4.5.
Nice.
It has too many things that I like in
Yeah.
games. Like, I mean, I was explaining that you just listen to what Doolin likes in games. You're like, I'm gonna throw that in there. I'm gonna throw a little bit of that in there.
And this is what you get.
And that's what you get. What did I get? Yeah.
Right, because I think about it from like my play, and like I obviously did not do well this time, but I still had a victory condition met, and I know that I did bad because I made bad choices, and I know the choices that I made. So it wasn't the game. It was like, oh, I bid on things I shouldn't have, and that was like my fault, and I could do better a different time. Yeah. So it's not like I'm like, oh, the game like screwed me. I was like, I did bad, but I could do better.
Check out Gempire Zarman's Demands on Kickstarter today. And I don't know for how long, but you can find out there.
Yeah. Love you, Paul Gym Time.
Someone say see you later.
Let's get out of here.
That's it. That's the one.
Wait, is that going to be a catchphrase in all Tablenauts?
I guess, yeah. Kyle's done it for us now.
Paul Gym Time's gonna be so disappointed.